Central Wan Chai bypass opens to traffic in about 3 weeks. Details of the government's fourth quarter land sale program. And a cabinet reshuffle in Saudi Arabia.
Hello, good evening and welcome to TVB News. The Central Wan Chai bypass opens to traffic in about 3 weeks, on January 20th to be exact. The new road promises to cut travel time between Central and North Point to 5 minutes. This could be the answer if you're fed up with traffic jams around Central. The Central Wan Chai bypass stretches 4.5 kilometres along the northern part of Hong Kong Island, connecting Central and North Point. The first phase opens next month. From the 20th, vehicles can use the Ramsay Street flyover and access a 3.7 kilometre tunnel. That will fast-track them to the Island Eastern Corridor in North Point. 5 minutes, in fact. Don't get too excited, though. The westbound carriageway won't open just yet. That will come after alteration work is completed to connect the tunnel with the Ramsay Street flyover. This should take a month, but authorities have not announced an exact opening date, only stressing that works are now in the final stage. The dual 3-lane trunk road costs $36 billion. While an expert thinks each lane can carry 1,000 vehicles an hour, more needs to be done to alleviate congestion on the island.
By electronic road pricing, the bypass would not be able to tackle the congestion problems in Central, especially when the traffic continues to build up. So we have to implement the electronic road pricing at the same time.
This driver is keen to try the new route and put an end to being stuck in traffic every morning. Commuters too can experience for themselves on one of 4 New World First bus services. That includes 2 new routes, 33X and 720X, also 2 existing ones, 18X and 88X. In case you're worried about water seepage problems detected earlier at the tunnel, the government said those are minor, adding that the structure's integrity and safety have not been compromised.
A government will put up for sale 4 plots of land for residential development in the fourth quarter of the current fiscal year. But for the whole year, private housing supply will fall short of the target. The development chief says this may be due to a shift in the government housing policy. Caleb Long explains.
Hong Kong may not be getting as many private housing units for the current financial year as hoped. That says private housing supply for the year 2018-19 is only around 13,850 flats. The figure fell short of the targeted supply of 18,000 units, and the development chief explained why.
This supply has taken account of the recently announced public-private split for the supply of new housing units in line with our long-term housing strategy, under which a split of 70% versus 30% for public housing and private housing respectively has been adopted.
Surveyor Vincent Cheung said the shift in policy may affect private housing supply in the short run, but an increase in public housing may help stabilize demand and prices for private housing. Let's take a look at the fourth quarter of the year. The total supply is estimated at around 3,950 flats. Around 1,860 private residential units will be provided through the government's land sale program. 4 plots of land are involved, 2 at Kai Tak, 1 in Yuen Long, and 1 on Lantau Island. Also to be put out to tender is Package 11 of the MTR Corporation's development at Lohas Park in Tseung Kwan O, which is expected to provide 1,650 residential units. 2 Urban Renewal Authority projects in Kwun Tong and Tai Kok Tsui respectively will yield 210 flats, and another 230 units will be from private development projects. On the commercial side, the government plans to sell a plot of land at Kai Tak for commercial and hotel use. The development project is expected to provide around 480 to 800 hotel rooms. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
More than 5,000 government plots are leased out for short-term tenancy. When some of the sites are used as private gardens, a research group has questioned whether that's appropriate. Caleb Leung again.
Take a look at this estate on Wong Nai Chung Gap Road in Southern District. The house belongs to Tycoon Stanley Ho's family. The green belt of over 10,000 square feet? Not. In fact, it's a government plot that the family rented for short-term tenancy at a cost of $30,000 a month. Rents for land used as private gardens in Sai Kung work out to be a bit cheaper at over $1 per square foot. Public utility companies, too, have applied to occupy some public plots to be used as car parks. You'll be able to find more information on government land currently rented out. Some of the information is available on the GeoInfo Map website as released by the Lands Department. A research group said a third of the 5,000 government plots on loan are used as private gardens.
用咗一塊公家地
These land plots can serve other purposes and shouldn't be approved via direct granting, said Chen Kim Ching of Library Research Community. He's called on the government to revise the consent clause so that particulars of the tenants will also be made public. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
In Beijing, the wife of a detained human rights lawyer today again failed to set foot inside the Supreme People's Court to complain what she called unjust procedures in her husband's trial. This came 2 days after Wang Quanzhang's case opened, almost 3.5 years after his arrest. Li Wenzu returned to the Supreme People's Court in Beijing for the 32nd time. She's far from alone. Security shoved in as Li tried to file a complaint to the court and speak to reporters about her husband. He is Wang Quanzhang, arrested and charged with subversion of state power after taking on sensitive cases on the mainland. His trial unfolded on Boxing Day in Tianjin, with his wife absent from the hearing. Authorities said the case concerns national secrets, so there will be no public trial. The lawyer is also one I did not appoint, and I know nothing about the case, Li Wenju said. When she tried to elaborate, others complaining about unjust cases pushed her out of the way. The mother of one thinks there's a serious breach of law in her husband's case and worries about his physical condition after almost 3.5 years in custody. In the end, she only got as far as the court's gate and again left without setting foot in the building. With supporters, Li chanted with references to her shaved head, "I can be hairless, but you can't be lawless." In Chinese, hair and law sound similar.
Saudi Arabia's king has put a former finance minister in charge of foreign affairs. This as the kingdom's image lies in tatters after the shock killing of a US-based Saudi journalist. Jeff Tang reports.
Saudi Arabia's international image took a heavy beating after the murder of US-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi inside the Saudi consulate in Turkey in October. So King Salman decided it was time to shake up the cabinet. State Minister Ibrahim Al-Assaf, who had served as the country's finance minister for 20 years, was tapped to replace Adel Al-Jubeir as Riyadh's top diplomat. Assaf enjoys a positive international image, having represented Saudi Arabia at the International Monetary Authority and World Bank. The 69-year-old was among scores of senior businessmen, officials and princes who were detained at a luxury hotel during an anti-corruption crackdown launched by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman last year. But Assaf was swiftly exonerated and released. Political watchers say the move reflected a perception that Jubeir's reputation was also tainted by having served as Riyadh's global defender during the Khashoggi affair. Khashoggi had criticized Crown Prince Mohammed in columns for the Washington Post before his murder. The events have gravely harmed Mohammed's reputation, despite the kingdom's denial that he was involved. The 33-year-old is poised to succeed his father in the oil-rich kingdom's first generational transfer of power in more than 65 years. Assaf's appointment also comes at a time when Saudi Arabia faces growing skepticism over its military intervention in Yemen. The United Nations says millions of people could starve to death because supply lines are disrupted by a Saudi-led war against the Houthi movement which controls the capital. Meanwhile, King Salman also installed new heads to the country's National Guard, as well as general security and intelligence bureaus. In addition, he ordered the creation of a Saudi space agency to be chaired by his 62-year-old son, Prince Sultan bin Salman. He flew aboard the US Space Shuttle Discovery in the 1980s as the first Arab in space. A Saudi official said the reshuffle came at the end of the cabinet's 4-year term. Jeff Tang, TVB News.
US President Donald Trump's visit to troops in Iraq has infuriated Iraqi politicians who feel he snubbed Baghdad. As Alan Buckner reports, they're demanding the withdrawal of US forces in the country.
Trips by U.S. presidents to conflict zones are typically shrouded in secrecy and subject to security measures, and Trump's was no exception. On the ground for only 3 hours, a planned meeting with Iraqi Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi was cancelled over a difference in points of view over arrangements. Trump spoke with the Prime Minister briefly by phone. Some Iraqi lawmakers called Trump arrogant and his visit a violation of national sovereignty. Hakim al-Zamili of the al-Sadr bloc of Iraq's divided parliament said Trump showed no respect for Iraq as a nation and demanded the withdrawal of U.S. troops, a growing call among Iraqi lawmakers. The troops are in Iraq as part of an international coalition against the Islamic State militants. IS was defeated in its last urban bastion last year. Meanwhile, Trump also drew criticism over a statement he made regarding troops' pay raises.
You've ever received, unless you haven't gotten one in more than 10 years. More than 10 years.
In fact, troops have been getting pay raises every year for decades. From 2008 to 2010, they were 3.4% or more. They went down after that because of congressionally mandated budget caps. This year, the raise was 2.4%. And Trump raised some eyebrows when he said how much they would be getting next year.
I got you a big one. I got you a big one. They had plenty of people that came up, they said, you know, we could make it smaller. We could make it 3%, we could make it 2%, we could make it 4%. I said, no, make it 10%, make it more than 10%. Because it's been a long time, it's been more than 10 years.
In fact, the pay raise for 2019 is 2.6%. Trump also said he has no plans to withdraw the 5,200 troops stationed in Iraq, although he said he'll withdraw the troops in Syria. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
And coming up next, government officials reach a consensus with local pig farmers on African swine fever prevention. Back locally, finally a consensus between government officials and the city's pig farmers on how to prevent African swine fever. After a meeting in Fan Lane, the trade agreed that if an infected pig is detected before reaching the slaughterhouse, only that batch of animals will be culled. If a pig falls sick inside a slaughterhouse, then all hogs on site will be disposed of. So far, 20 registered farms on the mainland have been banned from supplying live pigs to Hong Kong. They come from provinces with African swine fever outbreaks.
The Hong Kong Observatory may issue this winter's first cold weather warning tonight. Forecasters are watching a strengthening winter monsoon that's affecting the South China coast.
In the urban areas, the temperatures will range between 12 degrees and also 16 degrees tomorrow. Over the new territories, the temperatures will be a couple of degrees lower than those of the urban areas. Make sure you get well prepared for the cold weather, keep yourself warm, and also make sure be prepared for the windy weather.
Services offered at newly opened Children's Hospital may lack well-roundedness for kids with cleft lips and palates. Kina Chu has this story.
Irina was born with a cleft lip and a cleft palate. Over the years, the 13-year-old has been going to different hospitals for checkups and operations. The Hong Kong Children's Hospital, which opened earlier this month, specializes in rare and complicated afflictions like Irina's. With only its oncology and nephrology departments running at the moment, other services such as pediatric surgery will only commence in phases starting next year. The stage 2 repair Irina is undergoing involves orthodontics, oromaxillofacial, and plastic surgery. Irina's father hopes the hospital will offer a comprehensive service for oral facial clefts so that his daughter doesn't have to travel around so often. At present, there are 5 public hospitals offering oral facial cleft treatments. Among them, United Christian Hospital and Prince of Wales Hospital's cleft team will relocate to the Hong Kong Children's Hospital. It is, however, unclear when the relocation will occur. Medical sector lawmaker Pierre Chan hopes it will happen soon. He noted while operational services is already on offer, support for remaining treatments is still required from other hospitals. The hospital authority says it will continue discussions with stakeholders and improve its services. Kana Chu, TVB News.
That's our time. Thanks for joining us.